Cool. So, thank you everyone for coming. It's great to have you here. Hopefully, you are excited to learn about the cool things that Claude can do for social media and social media automation. We're going to go over a number of different demos today and a few high-level topics. So, they should be directly applicable, and then with the setup and homework guide, you should be able to take what you're learning today and extend it, even to the point where some of the people that I've shown the type of stuff we're going over today were able to immediately go out and create a social media management agency, like an entire company that they're now making good money. Like it became their profession after learning that they could do this. So these are some very cool things that Claude can do. So before we jump into the content, I want to shout out our AI Collective chapter. So for those of you who don't know, the AI Collective is the largest AI nonprofit in the world with over 250,000 members. And we unite founders and researchers, operators, people that work in the AI and the tech space, and deliver free presentations like this, both online and in person, on a variety of different topics, but generally all AI and tech related. And it is a fantastic community. Our local chapter has over 4,000 members and growing, thanks to you guys. And at the end of the chat, if you are new and interested in joining the AI Collective, I can send you a link or post a link in chat that you can use to join the Slack channel and communicate and connect with people online. And then you can find a chapter locally to you to attend in-person events. And there's basically a chapter in every large city in the world. So as long as you live somewhere near a large city, there should be a chapter nearby that you can attend the events with. All right. So the problem that we're trying to solve today, hopefully was the title was descriptive enough, but we want to solve the problem of social media being a huge time sink. Anyone that has done social media realizes that multi-platform social media management is a huge job. The brainstorming of content, filming content, getting images, videos together, editing videos, doing the posting, creating brand guides, like all of these many different things take a huge amount of time. My wife is a much bigger influencer than I am, right? She has a couple 100,000 followers and all of that, and she spends 20, 30 hours a week doing this stuff. And some of her friends who are in the multiple millions, they spend essentially all of their time either thinking about the next content they're going to put out, or editing, or managing their team that's doing the editing, or doing affiliates and all of these things. So the more pieces of these pipelines, that we can automate, the easier it is for, individuals or teams to put out higher and higher quality content and deliver it consistently. And Claude is getting very capable, more than capable enough to deliver high quality content on its own. So we're going to go over some of the pieces that we can build out and automate using Claude, especially Claude Desktop. So, this from a business perspective is a very large opportunity in case you wanted to be like, my friend that I was referencing earlier and go into SMMA full time. The market is, $27 billion a year and expected to grow fivefold within the next 6 years, which is a pretty large increase. And the tools that are being put out now, both by the companies like Anthropic, the Frontier Labs, and then also by companies that are AI wrapper companies to a degree, right? They utilize the underlying AI to build social media related tools, are increasing, the capabilities are increasing, the speed with which they're rolling out new content features is rapidly increasing due to the nature of the AI coding tools now. And so this is a fantastic time to get involved and start doing this kind of work. So today is going to be a little bit different from some of the other topics that we're doing or that we've done in the series, in that many of the tools that we're going to talk about, there's going to be free versions, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about paid versions for some of them as well, because the free versions are limited, as you guys are going to see. And so I'm going to talk about the paid ones. I'm not going to demo the paid ones because you guys can't really follow along without, getting a subscription and going through that whole process, which will take much longer than we have for this actual session. So there's going to be pretty detailed instructions and cool things that you can do in both the setup and the homework guide. And so, we're going to go over the stuff basically that can be done for free, and then we'll talk about the other stuff that can be done, until we hit our kind of time threshold around 8 o'clock. So before we begin, hopefully you guys have Claude Desktop installed on your machine. If not, go ahead and download it. So I think it's just Claude.download maybe. Claude Desktop. I will post the link in chat for you guys to download. Yeah, it's claude.com/download. So let me post that in chat for you guys. All right. So you want Claude. You also want Browser OS. Now, we did browser automation for our previous talk. The browser automation, or the Browser OS tool, is a fantastic tool for browser automation. There are browser automation tools that are built into Claude Desktop, but Browser OS takes it a bit further. And the native browser navigation tools that exist in Claude are not as efficient as using a tool like Browser OS, nor are there as many tools natively configured to use. And so I typically use Browser OS for a lot of the browser-based automation that I do. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about a lot here and recommending in a general sense for many of you guys. And the download link for that is just browseros.com, which again, I will drop into the chat. That's where you download the browser. That took us back. All right. So there's going to be a number of other tools that we're going to use. Some of them, again, are free, and some of them are not. Another free tool that you can use is from Cloudflare. To actually use the Cloudflare tool, you are going to need to create a Cloudflare account, which should be free. And within that, you are going to need to create an access token. Now, your version of Claude can do that for you if you connect to Cloudflare. It takes a little bit, so I wasn't going to include that particular piece in the demo, just tell you guys about it when we get to it. And then we have some advanced tools that we're going to talk about, but again, probably won't get to demoing, called Blatato and Cha-Ching, which are fantastic cross-posting tools that I will delve into a bit more as we progress. So I'm going to go over the demos at a high level, and then I'm going to swap over to the setup guide where we will actually look at setting these demos up. So again, high level first, discussing kind of what we're going to be doing, and then we'll dive into the weeds a bit over in the setup guide. So the first part is creating a brand template. And this is foundational because if you want an AI to do consistent work for you of any kind, it needs a template to do that. And so a template for Claude is going to be a skill. The skills are essentially MD files that are triggered and then appended to your prompt that give Claude a very solid, repeatable description for what you want, the format you want it, examples, both good and bad examples. And then Claude can take that and learn from it and compare its outputs against what it's supposed to be doing and invalidate some outputs and go back and regenerate them, all of that, without you having to intervene. And so these types of skills are the foundation for repeatable automated processes. So we've gone over skills before in a dedicated talk, and we created a number of them. It'll be good to go back and look at. For the skills today, I generated a complete one that you guys will just be able to download and drop into your Claude desktop. So you don't need to worry about it. You can take the longer route and build it out while we're doing the demo here. It will probably take the entire remainder of the demo session, so it would be difficult to pay attention to all of the other demos. But if you run a business, you work for a larger company, you're responsible for doing social media, it could be valuable for you to build it out and start thinking about it while we're talking about it. All right, so we're gonna build it, or go over building it at least, and then do the skill installation, which should be pretty easy. And then talk about how it triggers, and then do an example output for what the skill generates. And then the second one is we're going to test posting. Now that we have a brand template for the type of brand and post that we want to do, some examples in there, we're going to use that to generate a post and then have it post through Browser OS, which is, again, we're using Browser OS because it is more token efficient than utilizing the native Claude desktop and browser automation tools. And Browser OS actually obfuscates things in a way that prevents some of the social media platforms from shadow banning your accounts, which is also useful. And we're going to get into some of the platform restrictions and limitations and things after we do some of the demos, when we're closing up the slides, so that you guys don't start doing this and then get your accounts banned immediately, because it is something that can absolutely happen if you are not careful. All right, so yeah, we're just going to generate the post, verify it, and then proceed to the next demo. The third demo we're going to do is image generation. Now, there is no free video generation for, on the web that exists. There's many video generation services that are available with subscription, like with Google Gemini and things like that. You can use the VO series of models, many other subscriptions. API, you can do it via API, obviously. And those, generate very high quality videos, or as high quality as AI can generate. If you run, there are a few private models that you can download and run. They're video models that can generate decent quality video, but it generally requires powerful hardware. So you probably need an NVIDIA, 5080, something like that, to run some of these models consistently. And those graphics cards are pretty expensive, so it might not be worth it in the long run versus $20 a month Gemini subscription. Kind of have to make the decision for yourself. But Claude also, if you want to make this fully automated, you will need to be using APIs or local models. You can't be using your subscription for the most part unless the subscription provides an API, which Google Gemini doesn't the last time I checked. So you'd be limited to use the Google AI Studio API key. And that is pretty expensive. So it says down here, VO, which is the Google Gemini video model, costs 40 cents per second. So if you're making a 60-second clip or video, it will cost roughly $24. Now there's a few different caveats to that change the price. Some of it actually increases the price. So these video generation models are very expensive. Again, for this demo though, we're just going to be demoing the free image generation. I just wanted to make you guys aware of how much the video generation actually costs, in case you were thinking of creating an automated, faceless video channel or something like that. They can add up generally, a few dollars at least per video. But there are many channels out there that are fully automated video creation, and they've been around for basically a year, And some of my buddies who are doing it have millions of subscribers on their accounts. All right. So yeah, we talked about most of this. All right, and then the last part is the cross-posting. There's actually one demo that we're going to do after that, which is the creation of a social media weekly plan. So the generation of content and then setting that up to just run weekly for you. So you don't have to be thinking about the content. The AI will do the research for you in your particular niche. It will utilize the brand voice skill that we talked about. It will break out the research that it did, chop it up into posts that need to be posted across a variety of platforms, and then it will create those actual posts for you and then tell you on the days that it needs to be posted. And then you can either connect one of the posting automation pieces or one of these automated tools, and that would, essentially complete the last part of the full automation piece. So it kind of gives you that end-to-end pipeline of ideation to creation to actually posting. There is one more piece of that we're actually not going to go over, but I do want to mention in the talk, which is most of the social platforms significantly reward engagement. And so there's really two parts to engagement. One of them is responding to people that respond to you, right? People that comment on your posts. That is incredibly rewarded by the majority of the social media platforms. And so if you are using social media automation to post, but then you're not responding to people that post and like and all of that, or comment on your post, then you are missing out on a huge amount of additional exposure and engagement. And the other part is commenting on other people's posts and work. Now, again, we're not going to go over it in depth in here, but you can use automation to do that, to find posts that are trending in your niche and have AI post for you, or to have AI generate a post and then you copy and paste it over. So totally doable. Again, we're not going to dive deep into it, but it is worth mentioning because we're talking about cross-posting and all of that. All right. So I will come back to these tools. We're going to swap over to the setup now. I will check chat before we actually dive into things, see if you guys ask any questions. And then again, we will hop over into the setup. So let me go ahead and share. All right, checking chat. No, it looks like we're good. I'm going to go ahead and repost the slide and setup and homework document links again for anyone who might have come late. So all of those are in the channel. Feel free to take a look. And it looks like several of you are already in the setup guide, which is fantastic. So, a number of free tools. We've already gone over all of these. Really, the only one that we didn't talk about is Pollinations, which is just a free API-based image generator. It's just very easy to use and free. Limited it, I think, in the total number of images that you can create per day. But otherwise, it's going to be useful for what we're doing here. All right, so scroll down. The first thing we are going to be doing is building our brand template skill. So again, skills are the foundation for repeatable processes within Claude, regardless of whether we're talking about social media or business administration or cybersecurity or coding or whatever. Skills are how you get Claude to do anything repeatably, consistently, accurately. People talk about AI hallucinating, and it does, but it hallucinates much, much less if you give it examples and clear instructions. And so that's what the skills do. And then one of the cool things that you can't do when you're just talking to the AI prompt is the triggers here. And so the triggers are you providing specific instructions of when to invoke this skill. And so when you do that, then Claude will automatically use that skill in scenarios where it's appropriate. And so we're going to be creating a brand template skill, which is, again, how we are going to repeatedly do social media posts that are aligned with a niche, a business. And so I made up a company called Claude Business. A little on the nose, but I just wanted to be descriptive for what we're doing. So it is Claude Business, a no-hype AI adoption consultancy, which means that our brand voice that we're going to be using is aligned with that. And to make things easy for you guys, I created the templates that are aligned with each of these steps. So we're going to go through the steps so you understand what we're doing, but all of the files are here available for you, so you don't actually need to do any work. You don't want to, but it is good to understand these things so that you can produce skills on your own and or edit the skills that we have here to fit whatever use cases you want to create. So this is the skill itself is the bottom one, the brand voice zip file. And Claude wants you to use zip files when we're doing this particular process. I'm going to show you that particular part first because it is very easy. Looks like my folder crashed. Let's see. One second, guys. All right, I'm going to swap over to Claude here and show you guys the area where we are going to upload a skill, and then we're going to go back and look at how the skill is created after it is already in your Claude desktop. So let me go ahead and share the Claude. All right, so you guys should be able to see my Claude desktop session. So you notice that we are in Cowork, which is the middle tab. Hopefully you guys have been to the previous sessions and know the different tabs that are here. There's a surprising number of Claude users that don't realize that there is a chat tab, a Cowork tab, and a code tab. Some very smart people that I know have gotten incredibly frustrated with being in the chat tab and trying to get Claude to actually do stuff, which Claude in the chat tab does not actually take any actions or do any agentic functions. So it was a very frustrating several weeks for those people until I told them to use the Cowork tab, and it magically solved everything. But in the Cowork tab, we are going to click on, you saw that I clicked on Customize. And so this goes into skills and connectors. Connectors are the MCPs that we've talked about many times, which give, tool use to Claude. But we're going to go into the skill section. You're going to see that this is the skill that's going to be the same in the setup guide, right? This is the completed skill. And to upload the skill, you just click here, create a skill, and upload skill. And this wants you to put in the zip file. Now, I've already put in the zip file, so it's not going to upload it again. But you would just drag the zip file from whatever folder you downloaded it, from the link in the setup guide, drag it into the drag and drop area, and it should just set up the skill for you. And the skill should look exactly like this. And in that skill, we can see it talks about the different pieces that we went over before, the trigger, the skill, the format, and the examples. So we're talking about who we are telling Claude to be whenever Claude utilizes this skill. So a pro adoption and risk-aware AI consultant for small and mid-sized businesses. Our point of view is that AI is a tool, not magic, so on and so forth. Now, these are the kinds of things that you will want to adapt if you are using it for another company. Say you are a cybersecurity professional and you're posting on behalf of your cybersecurity group, right? You're going to change the positioning and point of view that, you're a tech-friendly cybersecurity group, operating in a local area, and the point of view is looking to build, brand awareness of your particular group and build hype for events that you're putting on, things like that, right? The tone, this is pretty easy to understand. The tone and rhythm you want to give for the type of posts and speech and text that the AI comes up with. Vocabulary to use, hooks. So these are specifically for different kinds of social media posts. CTA. So CTA stands for call to action. That is what you're telling people to do at the bottom of your social media posts. So, like, follow, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. That's the type of CTAs you want to use. If you're using this to post a bunch of events, like the event that we're doing right now, your CTAs would be, sign up for the event, click this link to join the Google Meet, things like that, right? And then per platform rules. So these are very important for one of the slides that we're going to go over later, so you don't get your account banned. Having these in the skill file doesn't hard code them because the LLM can choose to override them, but about 95 to 98% of the time it will obey the per platform format rules. And so what that means in a general sense is if you are very concerned with keeping your account from being shadow banned, right, you'll still need human in the loop to monitor. For accounts that you don't care a huge amount about, they're not in the tens to hundreds of thousands of subscribers, then you might be able to allow it to do in a more automated manner, right, and pay less human attention to. It's kind of up to you, but Claude is getting better and more consistent about following rule sets and stuff in these skills. And then examples, right? This is essentially the major way to reduce that kind of hallucination and get consistent high quality output. Now, in this case, the high quality output is social media posts that drive engagement. Now, I'm sure many of you have seen a lot of different social posts on social medias. You know that things like rage bait is very effective. So if you wanted to gain followers very quickly, you could train Claude to rage bait people. It won't necessarily be good for, what people will say to you, but it is very effective for getting engagement. This particular skill that we're creating, right, is from a business perspective. So we're trying to get people interested in the kind of skill goods and services that a company like Claude Business would sell. And so that's what these are kind of geared towards. And then you give like a brand visual reference and then tell Claude specifically how to utilize the skill, the order to use them in, checking against the platform rules, and so on and so forth, right? So this is a fully complete skill that's ready to use. Again, if you download it, you can drag and drop that zip file into the create skill, upload skill. That is how it works for any skill that you want to create. Now, so you guys know, this skill was created by Claude for Claude. Claude is very good at creating skills for Claude based on what you want to do. So you don't have to go through manually and add the skill for whatever use case you want to use. You just need to drop the skill into a session with Claude, a co-work session, and say, hey, Claude, I need to update this for my business. Here's details on my business or the company that I work for or whatever your job is. And Claude will update it for you and then apply that to your skills. So again, very easy to update and use. And then let's go back to the setup guide so that we can look at the next part of the demo. So we talked about and went through the skill end to end. Now there are steps in here for going through and creating the skill piecemeal. You, again, are welcome to do that. We probably won't have enough time to go through this all in depth if we want to get to the other demos. So I'm just going to highlight it real quick and then you can handle it on your own if you'd like. So, this is creating the voice that you'd like to use, which becomes the tone and vocabulary and rhythm and all of those other sections that we went over in the full skill. And then we fill out the template. So the template is, we saw the filled out template. This is the template that hasn't been filled out. So if you're chatting with Claude about creating a skill yourself, you can just copy in the blank template and he'll be able to fill it out for you. Or you can just drop in the zip file that contains the completed skill. Obviously, I'm always a big fan of putting in as many examples as possible. Not literally, but within reason, right? So probably 5 negative and 5 positive examples is what I would personally go for. I think we have 3, 4, 5, something like that in the skill. We don't have negative examples though. Negative examples are also very important for reducing the error and hallucination rate. Because if you give Claude negative examples, which are things that Claude shouldn't be doing, right? Post types, specific words that he shouldn't be using, all of that, then again, 95 to 98% of the time, Claude will adhere and keep those types of posts out of its finished product. And so it will deliver higher and higher quality output for you guys. So this is all very important. And then the final part of this is this part, using Claude to write a LinkedIn post on your behalf about the topic. So you can use that prompt, or we have a more fleshed out one to utilize that with Browser OS. By default, if you typed in or pasted over that first prompt into Cowork, it will utilize Claude Browser Automation to do it. And Claude Browser Automation is typically through a Chrome extension. So you need to install the Chrome extension, authenticate to the Chrome extension, and then Claude would be able to navigate from that. Now, again, for the safety of your social media account, it is more secure and safer to use Browser OS, but again, up to you. That's why this part of the demo is Browser OS. Again, the link should be in chat to download Browser OS. It's easy to set up and start to use. But once we do that, we can copy and paste. I don't know why it split it like this. Oh, okay. We'll just use the second prompt here. So open LinkedIn using Browser OS and post the text above. So I went ahead and put it into a new Cowork chat session. And I will show you guys the results. So if you haven't logged into LinkedIn, we're talking about and asking Claude to log into LinkedIn. So you might want to log into LinkedIn beforehand. It will give you a short-lived login credential, and then Claude will be able to utilize that on your behalf to make the post. If you don't log in beforehand, Claude will probably prompt you to do the login, and this can take a little bit of time. So to save time, because we're limited on time here, I went ahead and did all of it, and I will show you guys what that looks like in Claude. So in this one, I went ahead and already authenticated using Browser OS to LinkedIn. And I told Claude that I signed in. And then obviously it made a bunch of tool calls. It checked Browser OS, found it. It had an initial error where it copied the text in reverse order. So the title is at the bottom rather than the top, and then the hashtags are at the top instead of the bottom. But it realized its mistake, and then it went ahead and fixed it. And then it clicked post, and the post was successful. I left the post up for about an hour and then deleted it, but the post posted normally and got responses from people who asked me why I was posting something very basic. But it worked just fine. So if you guys are testing it, doing the demo, then you'll have that. It will probably take somewhere around 5 to 10 minutes for Claude to fully navigate through LinkedIn and getting the post aligned and templated correctly in your LinkedIn post section. But then it will post on your behalf. So it is fairly cool in that regard. Now, let me go ahead and go back to the Setup tab. So we've confirmed the posting with Claude and Browser OS works just fine. And now we can go into the image generation, which is the next piece. So these are both ways that we can generate free images. So one of them is called Pollinations, which is just very easy to use. It literally, you're just sending a request to a specific URL with the prompt in it. And so we can copy and paste this prompt. The first part is what Claude's supposed to do, and then the second part is the description of the image that we want Pollinations to create. So just go ahead and copy and paste that, and then bring it over to Claude. I'm going to have us do both of these actually at the same time if you're actually going to follow along. So do Pollinations and Cloudflare at the same time. If you are doing the Cloudflare piece and you want to be following along, you need to have the Cloudflare account and then to create a Cloudflare token. I'm not going to go into creating the Cloudflare token. You can ask Claude. It will give you directions. Have Claude give you the actual link to the specific token creation section. It is very easy. It's 2 or 3 clicks to create a token in the way that Claude needs it. But then that will allow Claude to access your Cloudflare account to generate images, which looks like it will allow you to create a few hundred free images per day, which is kind of cool. I only tested it with one as part of this, but again, if you're following along, just copy and paste both of these into separate chat sessions so Claude doesn't get confused, and go ahead and kick them off, and I will show you guys the results of each. So I'm going to swap back over to Claude and show you guys the results from these. All right, you should be able to see this. So this is just typing in the Pollinations URL, and this is the URL for the finished image. Let me go ahead and see if it still works and hasn't expired. Oh yeah, it has not expired. So I will swap over to that in a minute so you guys can actually see what it looks like. We're gonna check out the Cloudflare image. So Cloudflare opened that up, or Claude opened that up in Windows Photos. So I will show you each of the images just to confirm that they worked correctly. So as you guys should be able to see, we have, this is the image created by Pollinations. It's relatively low quality, but it is, you know, essentially what was asked for, like a robotic hand and a human hand. And then let's go ahead and share the image created and put into Photos. So this utilized the Flux engine, and so it created, again, a pretty basic AI image. I'm surprised it actually used the Mac logo in there because that's copyrighted. So it is interesting that I actually used that. But so we probably shouldn't post an image like that on our social media feeds, or Apple might yell at us, might send us a cease and desist, or a DCMA takedown notice or something like that. But it did create the image, totally worked. Both of them were completely free, no payment required. So they are functional for the goal of what we're trying to do, which is to create some images for the social media pipelines. And now let's go back to the setup guide as we are nearing our time threshold. I don't know why that didn't swap over. Let me try again. All right, setup guide. There we go. All right, so that demo, very easy. If you guys are doing it for the first time and following along by pasting over those prompts, do not be surprised if it takes somewhere around 5 minutes to generate the images. Again, for the Cloudflare stuff, you do need the account, you do need the access token with the proper credentials on it, or you will run into errors. But again, you can create a few hundred free images per day, so it's generally worth it if you have a need for a lot of relatively low fidelity free images. All right, and then another one that we can use. So Canva has an MCP. MCP, for those who don't know, is called Model Context Protocol. It's essentially a special language that tells the LLMs how to talk to external services and utilize them as tools. And so I also pasted in this prompt into Claude to create a carousel in Canva. And I will show you guys that carousel. The Claude's use of Canva is very hit or miss, so keep that in mind. I have used it extensively for a number of different use cases, some of them social media related, and many of them, other use cases like, logo creation and, other topics like that. Some of the swag that we actually use for the AI Collective, all of that. And it is very, very hit or miss, as you guys can see here, right? So I'm going to zoom in on some of these so you guys can see what I'm talking about, hit or miss. The text generation is very inconsistent. Yeah, Evan, one sec. I'll post the links for you. Oh, nerd, got it. Thanks, man. All right. So again, the text, as you guys can see over here, is very jumbled. The practical portion right here is a little jumbled and off. So some of the stuff in Canva, like Canva is actually one of the lowest quality, most inconsistent image generation tools that Claude can actually use. But it is very, like if you have a Canva subscription, it is very cost efficient to use Canva because you can generate thousands and thousands of images and then just pick the ones that are good quality. And some of them are legitimately good quality. You just have to sort through them, right? So like this created a number of different images on request. Two of them are pretty basic, but are otherwise generally fine, like the verbiage and everything. One of them, looks a little bit better, but there's still a few inconsistencies with like the text in the upper right, and they misspelled carousel here. So it's not entirely usable as is. But the cool thing about the Canva generation is that the Canva images that are generated for, social media or other pipelines can still be edited within Canva. So these links, like if I click into Canva, these images will show up in the, the section of Canva account, just like a human would have created. And so we can go in and edit the particular components of it that are not as high fidelity as we'd want for our social channel. And so that's just part of the human in the loop testing that we'd want to do to, again, get high quality outputs. And again, something that we're going to talk about and dive into a little bit more later if we have time is when you're creating skills for these kinds of pipelines, right? We created a very broad and generic skill, but if you were doing this and you want very high quality, consistent outputs, right? You're doing it in a professional sense, or you have a very popular social media channel or something, you should be creating per platform and per tool skills, right? So you would have a Canva skill that's a Canva skill for a particular brand. So you have your brand colors as part of the brand, images that you've used before, and that will be part of the brand component. And then you have the particular, tools within the platform, like the Canva platform that you're trying to utilize. And all of that together as part of that skill will allow you to create higher and higher quality images so you can keep updating that skill over time as you get more and more outputs. And then when you find outputs that you really like, you want to utilize those outputs as specific positive examples. And then some of the bad outputs as negative examples, like create stuff like the good example and don't create stuff like the bad example. And again, Claude will learn over time and consistently produce higher and higher quality output. So glad we have that demo. Let's go back to the setup guide again. All right. So the last part that we're going to be able to get to before 8 is the weekly social media plan. So this is, again, very important if you want to be automating social media. So this is a two-part plan. One of them is to create the initial plan, which you should then be looking at and revising and changing the frequency of things and changing, content titles and all of that. Again, providing positive and negative examples for Claude to be using. And then the second part is we're going to be taking that plan, utilizing it as an example, and then creating a scheduled task that runs, I put it in as Sunday at 9 p.m., but any time that is useful for you, if you want to do it daily or weekly or monthly, whatever. But Claude can do, these types of scheduled tasks on a recurring basis without any intervention on your part. And again, the more context you give it, the higher quality the output's going to be. And so, myself and many of my friends, we use this exact type of structure for consistent posting across a variety of channels, because Claude will take the template, it will do the research, it will create, a very detailed, 10, 20, 30 page report on trending topics within the niche, right? We're talking about AI, so within the AI niche, and then we'll draft compelling content for each of those topics and then slot them in as appropriate for a new weekly plan that it creates every week. And then there's additional automation where you can take that and turn that into the actual content pieces itself that are then pushed out through one of the other cross-posting tools that we talk about here, like Blitato or Cha-Ching. And that way you can really get to that full end-to-end automation if you're willing to one, utilize those tools and put in the effort to create the initial automations and the initial skills that allow you to leverage that into consistent high quality outputs. So I'm going to show you guys the paste or the session where I pasted over this prompt, and then we are going to hop back afterwards into the slide deck and go over a few more topics before we open up the floor to you guys for QA and then close things out. So I'm going to hop back over in Claude. So you guys should be able to see this topic. So there were issues a little bit earlier I fixed, and then so I pasted this in. Claude said he has everything he needs. He starts utilizing tools and then puts together the schedule and the platforms that we should be posting on with a business like this, right? Our Claude AI business. LinkedIn, for those of you who don't know, is the primary, business platform for people to be posting on. So it makes sense that business is there. X is also, tied predominantly to, more tech-related businesses, whereas TikTok, Instagram, tend to be more of like the artistic, health, human elements, things like that. But there are some businesses that run on there that could be relevant. And then Facebook obviously is, kind of broad in its reach. And so, the plan that it put together makes sense. And it pulled together some content and everything and dumped all of that into my downloads folder. So we can take that plan, again, modify it, update it, and then utilize that second prompt in the setup guide to turn that into a recurring task. So scheduled tasks that we were talking about are here, right? They're an easy button. So this is one of the ones that we set up for a previous talk, but it's very easy to create a new task. And you can either create it with Claude by chatting with Claude, or you can set it up manually. Even setting up it up manually is pretty easy, since we'll be able to copy over, the name and a general description, and then the actual text of what we want to do, and then attach a specific folder where you have the sample plan that you want to be using, and then you can create the skill. And when you create a new skill, you want to run it to make sure that it actually works properly. But once it's running and known to work properly, it will just consistently crank out the work that you want to be done on a hourly, weekly, monthly, cadence, whatever works for your specific use case. So I'm going to hop back over into the slide deck now, and we're going to go over a few more things before we open up the floor to you guys. Cross-posting, we talked about the cross-posting. The two tools are great. I've utilized both of them. I utilized Blatato for about 1.5 years, which is great for cross-posting across essentially every platform. And then I just started using AICHR recently, which is a fully agentic CRM that has social media posting in it. So it is, an incredible tool. And they allow you to not just post content, but create the content in an automated manner, and then do all of the stuff on the back end, like collect emails and respond to people and create email campaigns and all of the other follow-up stuff you'd want to do as a business owner or as an influencer to utilize the channels that you have. So these are very cool. The tools, I think Blatato is $30. That's what we said before. Yeah. And then AICHR is $50. They're agent native, so they have an MCP that you can utilize for a variety of different tools and purposes. And this is a very important slide here, which is how to avoid getting banned. So when you're utilizing automation, all of the social media platforms are right now trying to prevent people from doing full-scale automation. So typically the recommendation is to use partial automation, to use a lot of the tools that we set up to create the content, but then for you as a human to manually post it. So instead of taking, many hours or days, right, it shortens it down to, a 10-minute period where you have to post on a few different sites. So it still saves a great deal of time, but that is the safest way to do this. You can still automate it via API, which is, what we're talking about for tools like Blatato and AICHR. But that's automating these, fully is, certainly a more risky path to take. So again, I wouldn't recommend it for, large channels, very important or valuable channels. But if you want to experiment with it, it's fully viable to do. And as Joshua posted, it does actually work for Reddit. So utilizing Browser OS does allow you to automate Reddit posting and allow you to automate Reddit comment responses in a way that Claude cannot do with Chrome and I think Edge. The Chrome browser extension blocks it for Claude, so he won't do it on Chrome. It's not limited for Browser OS, and there's actually a number of other tools that myself and some people that I know have utilized to do full automation for Reddit, including things like karma farming and cross-posting across a bunch of subreddits and things like that, and even responding to DMs in an automated manner like you would for some of the other social platforms. So it is fully possible. We're not going to get into it too deep in this chat, but it is, again, fully possible to do. Yeah, a meeting just for Reddit. Yeah, I hear you. Reddit is a fantastic community, especially for businesses these days. Again, if you want to avoid getting your account banned, you can just do the first piece of the automation that we talked about, which is the creation of your content calendar and the research piece and the image and video generation, all of that. So you have your post completely done by AI, and then you just copy and paste it over into Reddit. which many people do. But the last piece is also still fully possible. Now, in terms of monetary savings for what people would be paying for this stuff, obviously what we went over today, the free stuff is, $20 is just the Claude subscription. So very inexpensive using browser OS and then one of the free image generation tools. The next part is a paid stack, again, using Claude and then one of the paid tools, either Blatato or AICHR. And this is compared to what people pay for social media management agencies. So these are very commonly $2,000 to $10,000 for a small to medium-sized company, and go up quite a bit from there. To where I have, some buddies that run divisions at large Fortune 500 companies that pay somewhere between $500,000 and $5 million a month for their social media. So it is a big business. All right, this is the full pipeline, what it looks like, just content to generated post and applying the brand voice, which we already went over. And the resources that we have and produced for you guys. So we have the setup guide. I talked about the homework guide. The homework guide extends everything that we talked about today and goes over ways that you can utilize some of the other tools within Claude that Claude provides to do additional automation and additional types of automated video and image creation. Again, utilizing some of the APIs that we don't have from because they're paid. Because we went over the free ones for this talk, and then the tools like HeyGen and 11 Labs, which do automated videos and can produce pretty high quality content. And then things like content repurposing. So for talks like this, we can, take the recording and put it into a tool actually produced by HeyGen, and combined with a tool called FFmpeg, and the HeyGen tool is called Hyperframes, and then Claude can actually edit your videos locally on your machine and chop it up and make it ready for posting by those various tools. And then again, utilize one of the cross-posting tools like Blatato or AICHR to cross-post those videos to whatever platforms you want them on. So hopefully you guys will utilize and get benefit from both the setup and homework guide when you start working on this on your own. And now I'm going to open it up to you guys in chat for any questions that you may have. So go ahead and ask away. Evan, yeah, Slack chat, absolutely. All right, I have to generate a new invite every time I do one of these talks because the Slack invite times out every week. All right, invite people, copy invite link. Here we go. All right, that is the AI Collective Slack channel link. So you guys are free to join the collective. There is no cost to sign up, no membership cost, nothing like that, no requirements of you. You can just join the Slack channel, join all of the public channels. Our public channel, our local group is Hampton Roads. So I will put in the channel our particular public channel. If you guys want to search for it in the top bar and join. All right, Kelvin asked, is there a mobile version to do this? So are you asking if there is a mobile version of Claude Desktop, or if there's a mobile version of some of the tools that we talked about, or a mobile version of Slack? Okay. So there is not a mobile version of Claude Desktop. There is a tool called Dispatch that allows you to sync your phone to your Claude Desktop and talk to it essentially through your phone like a walkie-talkie and have Claude Desktop do things on your behalf. So it does work in that manner. It's obviously not as interactive as utilizing an actual Claude desktop session, but it is functional if you're, driving to work and you really want Claude to create a weightlifting app or something for you so you can track your lifts. Um, but again, it's not going to be as functional if you utilize it directly. The second part, the generation piece, if you have all of those tools set up, you can talk to Claude through Dispatch and have them utilize them while you are remote. And so that will totally work. And then I don't know if you meant the last one as well, but Slack does have a phone app as well. So, all right, JS World, thanks for the session. Created a fully automated studio which created video form stories for any URL. Yeah. Using anti-gravity, great. Yeah, so anti-gravity is cool. It's not quite as functional as Claude is, but it is, still a very good tool. But yeah, that's great doing fully automated video creation. I've seen a number of different projects that have created really high quality video using a process like that. And PlayWriter script to automate, is that like Playwright or something else? I haven't actually heard of PlayWriter, but I have heard of Playwright and utilize Playwright. So, all right, Kelvin, you're on Slack already. Okay, cool, man. All right. Can you reshare the link for previously recorded sessions? I absolutely can. So, all right, let me grab the YouTube channel link. All right, there we go. That is the YouTube channel link for all of our previous sessions. Again, the recording for this is going to be on that YouTube channel. It's going to be emailed out to everyone that signed up for this talk, and it's going to be sent or posted in our Slack channel that I linked a minute ago, the Hampton Roads public channel, and then our Facebook group. So any of those, you'll have the opportunity to watch recordings. All of our previous recordings should be in all of those places as well. And again, myself and all of my co-leads and fellow AIC members are in the Slack public channel. So if you guys have issues with any of the content or can't find something, feel free to ping us there or on Meetup or one of the other ways you can contact us. But I appreciate all of you guys showing up. Sorry that there was that crazy guy in channel a bit earlier, but yeah, thanks for sticking with it, and hopefully this has been illustrative for you guys. You'll use it on your own going forward. And if there's any other requests for specific content, feel free to send it over. This particular session was requested by several different people, which is why we did it. We've had a few other requests for cybersecurity and game development and a few other topics, which we're going to be posting. And then we're also going to be doing some sessions on a few other competitors to Claude, right? The OpenClaw and their variants, and then tools like anti-gravity and a few others. So again, request the content that you want to see, and if we get enough demand for it, we are happy to put it together and put it on for you guys. So.